like the main motto of the festival is new film experience, and I want to ask what your idea of a new film experience is and how to get there.
Well, it's difficult to say, because if it's new, you cannot define what is new because it's unknown. But at least it's you pretend to have something that it has not seen, or that you have the intuition that you cannot find similar things that has been done before, or that in little aspects or not so little open fields for the future of cinema that specifically you cannot find anywhere else nowadays. It means that in the platforms or in the normal scene, in the current cinema, you cannot find that thing. So for me, it's it's try something that when you do it, it's clear that you are a little bit opening some new doors, and that's all. I mean, then we'll see. History will judge.
I was also wondering yesterday when you talked about how you worked with Benoit Magimel, and that he had his earpiece inside, and that you were talking to him and he didn't know what was coming. So in my mind, it was a bit like it's either like one take or infinite takes. So how do you know when you sort of grasp something? Or
I don't know it during the shooting. I did a lot of takes. This film was 540 hours, so I learned this from Warhol, that the idea that you don't make judgments, you don't put a critical judgment of your own film while you are doing it, while you are shooting. It's live, it's, you suspend a little bit the critical judgment, and suspension, it means that, and when you do that on the critical judgment of aesthetics, it means that also in parallel you can do that also in the moral judgment of behavior of people. You can do that, in order to explore new territories, in order to find this new image we were talking before. So I don't know, it's there you don't know. You have the hope, and you are like a prayer. You are like a Christian or whatever. You believe in something you don't see. You believe in something you don't know, and you hope that it will appear, like the resurrection. And the resurrection, or the end of the world, the final judgment, will be the film. So you have the same kind of faith.
Yeah, and so is it this getting into the unknown something that?
Yeah, and I try to do it as long as possible, to have as much material as possible, to try as different kind of things as possible, variations, blah, blah, blah. For example, I like very much when I do something that I said, this is maybe the meaning, because we never control that. But maybe you have a little intuition when you do something that the ideology of this scene we did goes on this side, maybe. And then I always said, let's do it totally in the opposite. And I make a setup trying to, repeat the same thing, but in the totally opposite sense. And we have what, and we forget. And then on the edit room, we just go there and we choose the best take from strictly artistic point of view, aesthetic point of view. So it means that what arrives at the end of the film from the ideological point of view becomes very, very strange, and it escapes always to a logic, because one scene can be this way, the other scene can be the other way. So, and I think that this indirectly reflects more properly the complexity of our world nowadays. So, or is the only way, because if you go with your own ideas on representation and you have to deal with human beings, this is actors or technicians, whatever, and with script or whatever, this is you go to the catastrophe for sure, because it will be a cliche for sure, because the world nowadays, it's quite interesting, and we were discussing this before, and I mean, I don't think that it's like being a social democrat and making a film with a social democrat ideology and thinking that this will improve the world. We have been, since Second World War with that. I mean, it has not improved anything, and we are worse than ever.
Do you think there's, because you talked about like ideologies or like the
No. I mean that it was a conversation. I mean that you have to take risks, and that probably unknown territories or new images are on the extremes of the practice of cinema. I mean, for sure. Then okay, it's our duty to make this adaptable, or to make it compatible, or to make it coherent with the form of cinema that can still be consumed in cinemas with a coherent plot. But we have to fill these images with as much as possible of this content that come from the extremes, still remaining coherent, still remaining readable, or slightly readable, or at least not being experimental. I mean, because I don't do experiments. Experiments, it's what people don't know what they do, and they do experiments. No, I know what I do, even if I reject to know the exact formulation. But I don't know, or at least I know what not to do, what is already a lot.
And also maybe in regards to readability and going back to like the platforms and streaming platforms, that there's a certain idea of a readability of image in the sense of Netflix, for example, has, if you have a new film and want to have it on Netflix, it has to be in 4K. So it is the sort of like new.
It's not the problem of 4K or not 4K. They not only tell you that you have to be in 4K. They want the final cut. So there, it's a problem of dignity, artistic dignity. I met a lot of filmmakers and a lot of people. They work for platforms, they work for the money, and they try to justify. And then I put a simple question to them: do you have the final cut of your film? None of them has the final cut of their film. None of them. When you work for Netflix or for all these platforms, and maybe I don't know. Maybe there is somebody. Yes, you will introduce me, and I shake hands, and I will say, okay, congratulations. But we can all agree that this is not the rule. So, why? What are you talking about? Artistic things, possible artistic things in platforms, if you don't even have the final cut of the film? Don't you think it's the maximum of dignity, or the little dignity of a filmmaker, to have the final cut of the film? It's such an obvious thing and such a common sense thing, and people trying to make a deal. And okay, I would make a deal also, but okay, what is the final cut, and what is, so they are not interested in that. So if you are not interested in that, okay, you are friends and you do whatever is needed to make products, and it can be beautiful and it can be good. But I mean, it's not for me, and I think it's not for the future of cinema. Les professionnels de la profession, as Godard said. If they ask me to do something that will be mostly consumed is what I think, modestly, is what Godard will thought. If they ask me to do something that is for the small screen, he did TV for a long time, and that it's only for the small screen, and it has to be diffused for the small screen, I will adapt. And I will try to make something very original, and going as far as possible with the potential of the small screen, with the means I have and with my knowledge and whatever. But you still need the final cut. Yeah. So this is the point. It's so easy. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe of course life is about making deals, and you cannot have everything, but the final cut is the minimum. Of course, I admire the financial potential of this Netflix, and I admire them as a business, and as a company, they are wonderful. But I never understood, and it was a question I put several times to friends of mine and to people that was in the industry, why they don't spend 0.1%, or not 0.1, but 1% of their budget on doing more interesting films, giving final cut, and not Scorsese, super expensive, that it spends the whole 1% budget in one film. Not 1%, because it's much more, but I mean, just why they don't try new things? I don't know.
Like the middle budget.
If it works, why they have to try new things? When something works, don't fix it. So they have this kind of thinking. Being a great company doesn't mean that you are making great films. It's like being a great company. I don't know. Microsoft was a great company and selling shitty products during decades.
Mhm.
So